Functional addiction is a deceptive condition. It tricks individuals into believing they are in control. This is because most people who think about addiction see it as the person who is living for the bottle or not being able to function. The truth is the majority of the people who meet the criteria for a substance disorder will never see the doors of a treatment or detox facility. They maintain an outward appearance of normalcy. These individuals are accomplished employees, responsible parents, loving spouses, and even respected individuals within their community. In addition to being all those awesome things, they have also crossed over into the functional aspects of addiction. But because these subtle changes are occurring in the brain and have no real negative effects, they become normalized portions of our everyday lives. We use terms like social, responsible, and control use to define the behavior of using the substance. And although those terms apply outside of addiction, they also represent those with functional addictions. That's a lot to accept. But let's say you are open to seeing the harsh reality. What if your previous thoughts about addiction were setting you up for a series of falls? If that's the case, there is a very practical solution. Confront this faulty thinking by building future decisions on facts and science instead of feelings and stigmas. Now let's deal with the facts. Did you know 80% of individuals meeting addiction criteria are unaware? That's right. 80% don't know they have an addiction, meaning the majority of the people who have it will carry on functioning unaware of the permanent changes that have occurred in the brain. Why is it so hard to help a functional addict? It's because functioning addiction defies stereotypes. This outward appearance masks the real physical changes in the brain and the subtle behavioral changes we normalize. Lack of awareness is a barrier to change. Meanwhile, the addiction starts to cause cracks in your foundation, progressing from mild to moderate to severe levels of dysfunction. Most people in the early stages won't realize they have a progression of use until they are arrested for a drug-related charge or DUI, have a health-related concern that is exacerbated by use, or encounter interpersonal problems. Surprisingly, even after arrests and failed relationships, it is easy for the functioning addict to minimize the signs of progression by focusing on everything that is functional in their life. And they will often hide behind this smokescreen to avoid the stigma of addiction. The disease of addiction is a lot like other diseases, in that many people won't confront the problem when it is manageable. Oh, so often we overlook the red flags until we are literally staring at flashing lights. Most people see addiction as a picture of complete dysfunction. We see addicts as people who live for the substance, those who think about the substance all the time and can't stop once they start using. That is a great way to describe non-functioning addicts, but it leaves out the majority of the individuals who meet the criteria for addiction. An easy way to compare functional and non-functional addicts is to think of addiction as a crime scene. When the signs of addiction are obvious, it's like being robbed at gunpoint. It's very clear what's happening and who is in control. The interactions between the user and the substance are obvious. Functional addiction, on the other hand, is like identity theft with calculated purchases that increase slowly over time without you knowing. The unauthorized charges are small at first, going under the radar, $5 here, $10 there. Eventually, there are major purchases in your name that start to impact your credibility and your character. The illusion of functionality is a powerful defense mechanism, because it overshadows the changes in increased tolerance patterns of use and your increased preference to use the substance. Most functional users will remain in the dark until their first reality check: an arrest, DUI, workplace incident, or family intervention. Surprisingly, many will experience these negative consequences and still return to use. They will justify the behavior as being legal, a God-given right, or controllable. They often claim that the negative consequence is enough to stop the progression of use and pledge to never go that far again. Unfortunately, the best intentions won't undo the wiring in the brain or prevent further progression. For functional addicts, the weight of shame and social pressures also complicate the individual's acceptance of the problem. Many people see accepting that they have a problem as admitting that they are defected or flawed for life. Here's the truth. Addiction is not a failure of moral character. It does not mean you are a weak person or lack the capacity to be healthy and lead a meaningful life. To have an addiction is to have a disease, and we have the brain imaging and research to prove it. And just like other diseases, it can be managed and with abstinence return to a state of remission. To ignore the disease after the warning signs and a diagnosis is brought to your attention is, however, an indication that the substance has progressed. And the decision to not use is harder because the pull of the substance is stronger than you might be willing to admit. Think about it. If you find yourself in this place, seek help. Your willingness to return to a behavior that has caused you family conflict, impacted your work, produced financial challenges, and even resulted in arrests screams denial. Seeking help for addiction is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to admit a problem and ask for help. So if you're beginning to open up to a new way of seeing things, that's worth celebrating. Resources like treatment centers and support groups are available and can help you uncover the science to support a fact-based future, not stigmas and bad information. After all, this is your health and quality of life that we are talking about. With the right support, remission is possible. Interested in more helpful information? Visit our YouTube channel at AHS Behavioral Health, The Growth Zone.